In this video, we're going to take a deeper dive into some of the framework options that are available in Bricks 2.2 and above. These are new options being brought in to make handling, colors, spacing, typography, and so on an integrated part of the overall setup. Today, we're going to focus specifically on the color option, and in future videos, we'll take a look at each one of these individual sections in more detail. So how do we work with it? It's very simple. To access the framework options, all we need to do is come to the styles icon in the top left and click to open this up. Now, if you see my previous videos, this is going to look a little bit different. Down the left-hand side, we have icons for the various different parts of our overall framework. We can also take a look at a preview in different modes as well, different breakpoints, your desktop, tablet, and so on. I've already created a blank framework style. There's pretty much nothing going on here. We'll take a look at that in more detail later on in a different video. For now, we want to focus specifically on the colors section. So let's come down to our colors tab, open this up, and inside here you can see we've got a bunch of colors already available to us. Whenever you install Bricks, you always get this kind of default color palette. You'll have different options if you use any of the templates that you can use as part of Bricks. They will import their own color options as well. We're going to ignore those for now. We're going to create something completely new from scratch. So all we need to do, you can see you've got the icons at the top. We click on the plus, change the name of this to something we want. We'll call this the framework color palette, and we'll click on create. We now have basically a blank slate. Nothing is set up inside here. So the first thing we need to do is give it a variable name. This is where we start to kind of create our design system. Now, generally, I'll kind of keep my colors to a very simple color palette, maybe 3, 4 at a push. So we're going to name these pretty logically. First of all, primary is going to be our main base color. So then you'll see we've got the little color picker, which we can click and open this up, and we can switch between different modes. This is HSL and alpha. We can switch it over to RGB and alpha. We can have hexadecimal, and you can see we can switch between any of those as we want to. You can also drop in the names of colors. So for example, we could do something like red, and you can see that will pull red in. Change it to blue, pulls blue in. You can then obviously come to the color picker and you can customize this to whatever you want. So whatever color method you are more comfortable with, you can use that here. Generally, I would recommend using the HSL and A, because what this allows you to do is when you're creating a color palette, you can set up your basic colors and you can use the lightness channel to create various different shades and tints of that particular color should you want to. So for this example, let's choose a color. I'm going to go for something like this teal kind of color. That will work fine. You can see that's dropped the values inside there. And like I say, you can use whatever kind of color values you want to use. We'll click on add color. That will add the color in and open up the option for another variable color. So before we take a look and a deep dive into the various different options we have here, let's add a couple more colors in so we can see how we build up a color palette. Let's minimize this. Let's create our secondary. Again, we'll do the same thing. So we'll click on our color picker this time. And for this, we're going to choose a nice sort of opposing color, an orangey red kind of color. So we've got the teal and orange. There we go. Add our color. And we've now got a couple of colors in there. So obviously you can keep on doing this to create your overall color palette as many times as you want to, naming them whatever you want. So once we've done that, let's take a quick look now at the other options we've got here. First of all, let's take a look at the top row of icons. We can obviously rename and delete this color palette should we want to. We can create a color palette. We can import, we can export our color palettes, and we've also got to take a look at the generated CSS. So we click on this, there's our CSS, and you can see there's our colors using the HSL option. So that's pretty cool. Let's come back out of this. Let's open this back up again by clicking the edit option. And if we take a look inside here, we now have an awful lot more options to expand upon those basic primary and secondary colors we have. So first of all, we've got the enable dark mode option. If we switch this on, this will then create an alternative dark mode color. So you can customize the color for the lighter color and for the darker color. And as you can see, we get these two little color chips, which we can click on and make changes. So you can adjust these to get exactly the colors you want, or you can let the style manager actually work out what it thinks is going to be the best color in a dark mode. If you disable this, you can see we get a confirmation and it removes that option. For now, we're going to leave the dark mode as it is. We'll come back and switch it on in a moment just to show you how it operates with other options inside here. Then we've got our light and dark shades. These are basically your tints and your shades. Tints tend to be lighter, shades tend to be darker. All we need to do is click to enable any option here, and you can see this brings in by default 10 different steps. So this will base itself on our primary color in this example, or secondary color, whatever it is, and then it will create that number of shades, either lighter or darker. You can change this. We can say we want to have 4, for example, to have a smaller color palette, and you can do the same then for your darker shades. And again, we can change this over to 4. And then what we've got is we've got a primary, we've got 4 lighter shades and 4 darker shades. If you want to work with transparencies, you can also enable that option. And again, you can see we can set up the number of shades we want here. So let's set this again to be 4. So now we've got transparent options. If you like to use transparency in your designs, you can have it set up as part of your overall color palette. You'll also notice when we hover over any of these, we can choose to edit it, we can see the value and we can copy it, and we can also take a look at the actual variable name. So if you want to edit this, click, and you can see we can change our color. So if we want to start off with the shades here, but then we want to fine tune them, or we actually want to manually insert values here, we absolutely can do that. So we can use these shades and tints and transparencies. We can take what the style manager provides, or we can input our own custom values. So we've got plenty of flexibility here for ourselves. Now then, if we go back to our dark mode and enable this, you'll now see that what happens is where we're using the lighter, darker, and the transparency options, it now creates a light and a dark mode version of those particular color steps. Again, we can easily come in and adjust any of the values inside here, copy those values, etc., etc. So before we go any further and take a look at the utility classes and I explain what they're for, let's take a look at the icons we have at the top here. This basically gives us a brief overview of this particular color. So if we minimize this, you see when we hover over, we can see we've got 8 light shades, 8 dark shades, 8 transparencies, and you can see we've got 0 utility classes. It's kind of just a visual prompt that shows you to see exactly what any of the colors you have, what different options you've got set up, so you don't have to expand these and see what's going on there. So nice little sort of quality of life option. Now you'll also see this little icon that says create harmonies. Now if you absolutely suck at creating color options, you can use these to create your color palette for you. For example, let's remove this option for our secondary color. Click on edit, and click on the trash can, and we'll confirm our deletion. So we now only have the one color, but we want to create a full color palette. Well, let's come up to the harmonies option. And now you can see we can choose from various different harmony types. So analogous, monochromatic, complementary, and so on. So if we choose monochromatic, it's going to stay inside the same color palette using that blue basis. And as you can see, there's our code preview, and it'll show us various different options. So we've got 5 different color options, all staying in a monochromatic color palette. If you want to use something like analogous, you can do that. You can see that creates these kind of complementary analogous colors. In this case, we've got 4 options. Or we can say we want to have complementary. So as you can see, its complementary color to blue is going to be orange. It's opposite on the color spectrum. So it's going to come up with that option. And we can choose any of these like tetradic, triadic, split complementary, and so on. So again, you can see we can easily make changes here. If we don't want to have all these colors, we can click and delete any of them. So if you choose, for example, the monochromatic and you didn't want to have all of these colors, you can say, I didn't want to have this one here. We'll just go with these, click generate colors. Those colors are now generated automatically for us. You'll see we also have all the same options. We can edit this, and we've got all the options for dark mode, light, shades, dark shades, transparent, and utility classes, and so on. Now, if you're getting value from this video and you'd like to be notified when the rest of this series actually drops, simply go down and hit that subscribe button under the video. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying this. But if you're not, hit the thumbs down button twice, as that works pretty well too. Anyway, let's carry on with the rest of the video. Let's move on now to utility classes. So we've got a range of pre-built utility classes we can enable if we want to. Currently, none of these is enabled, even though you can see them here. So hovering over any of these will show you what the actual class name is. In this case, we've got BG primary, we've got text primary, border primary, and so on. So you can see what it's doing is it's putting the name of our variable for our color, in this case primary, and it's preceding it by BG for background, text, border, and so on. So if we create secondary, tertiary, and so on, then the utility classes will be named the same kind of way. BG secondary, BG tertiary, and so on. You get the idea. So you can enable these, and then you can use these inside your design. And then if you change the color inside here for your primary, then any of these utility classes will update accordingly, depending upon what you change these to. They can be useful. It's up to you how you want to work. And what we'll do is we'll actually set the background color and we'll set the border color, and we'll use those here so you can see how this would work. So let's come into our button to start off with. We'll choose the button, the first one, come over, and we're going to apply a class to this. You can see there's our BG primary. You can see that now applies the primary background color to it. Simple as that. It's just basically a class that's tied into that variable for our color. Simple, nothing more than that. Do the same thing here. If we go to our second button and come over, this time we're going to choose the option for border primary. You can see that now puts a border around it. You do have to make sure that you've actually styled the border. In this example, you can see we open it up. I've set my border width to 2 and to be solid. So no color has been applied to it. We're simply using that utility class, the border primary, to handle that side of things. Really simple. So if we now save this, come back into our colors, let's change our color over to something completely different. Let's edit this and let's go for something like an orange color. Hit save, come back out of this. You can see that now has updated because we're using that color as a reference point, a variable inside our design. Simple as that. So now we've seen how to use these utility classes, how to apply colors, transparency, tints, and shades, and so on. Let's take a quick final look at the color palette and see what's going on there. Let's just choose our last button, come over this time into our background, click to open up our color palette, and you can see there's all of our colors and our shades. The first one, which is slightly larger, tells us there's the variable of primary, and you can see there's our primary L1, L2, 3, 4, D1, D2, 3, and 4, and so on. And if you've got multiple color palettes, you can choose them from here. So it really is that simple to get started by using the colors option inside the CSS framework that's now part of Bricks 2.2. In future videos, we'll take a look at applying the spacing, and we'll also take a look at the typography settings, and we'll also take a look at how we can start to pull all these things together to use a nice, clean CSS framework that helps us speed up how we work in our designs in Bricks itself. As always, all applicable links for this and everything covered in the video, including the rest of the videos in this series, will be down below in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.